Welcome to Sage Audio. Today, let's look at how to sit vocals in a mix. But first, if you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us to receive a free mastered sample of it with the link in the description. Using EQ to place vocal. Vocal can be brought forward or pushed back in a mix by utilizing equalization and masking. For example, if I amplify 2 to 5 kHz on a vocal, the vocal is going to stick out. If I reduce this range or amplify frequencies that mask it, roughly around 250 Hz, the vocal is going to sit back. You can use this concept for any instrument that you want to bring forward or have sit back. If you want the signal to sit back in the mix but it doesn't have the lows that are needed to mask it, you can amplify this range on another instrument or on the full mix. Let's take a listen to these ranges being affected on a vocal and notice how it moves forward and back in the mix.
I tell you what the words mean, they don't mean anything. I tell you what the words mean, they don't mean anything.
Compression timing and vocal placement. The attack and release of a compressor determine where the vocal sits in a mix. With a quick attack, release, and corresponding makeup gain, the vocal is going to move forward in the mix. With a moderate attack and slow release, the vocal moves back and has its timbre smoothed in the process. If we time the compressor's release to the track's BPM and don't enable any automatic makeup gain, the vocal's amplitude coincides with the mix's timing, making it sit back. Let's take a listen to quick compression that brings the vocal forward and BPM synced slow compression that makes the vocal sit back.
I tell you what the words mean, they don't mean anything. I tell you what the words mean, they don't mean anything.
If you're enjoying the video, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It's free and it helps us bring you more videos. Using reverb to pull vocal back. I've said this before, but reverb that's isolated to a vocal's mids helps it blend in. But let's also consider how 2 to 5 kHz can play a role. When I reverberate the vocal, if I increase the decay time in the reverb's EQ within 2 to 5 kHz, it lessens the range's impact. Now that said, if I decrease reverb on these frequencies, either by reducing the decay or the reverb's EQ, the range retains its impact or transient response. Let's take a listen to reverb that makes the vocal sit back and reverb that helps the vocal come forward.
I tell you what the words mean, they don't mean anything. I tell you what the words mean, they don't mean anything.
Sidechain resonance reduction on vocal. Resonances are bands of frequencies that are amplified to aggressively to sound balanced, but since they vary with each note change, they're hard to pinpoint and attenuate. With Soothe 2, I'll reduce these dynamically to balance the vocal, but also sidechain the mix and use it as a trigger. This means that any resonances that are aggressive on the mix will attenuate those frequencies on the vocal, causing overall spectral balance and helping the vocal sit back into the mix. Now, if I want the vocal to be brought forward, I just need to reverse the process by inserting the processor on the mix and then sidechaining the vocal. Let's take a listen to this effect on the vocal and with the mix sidechained.
I tell you what the words mean, they don't mean anything. I tell you what the words mean, they don't mean anything.
Sidechain intelligent EQ balance. Intelligent EQs work in a similar way to Soothe 2 in that they dynamically alter the frequency response to match a predetermined ratio of frequencies. So let's do the same thing that we did in the last chapter, but with the Gullfoss EQ to make more generalized changes instead of pinpointing resonances. Let's take a listen to this effect on the vocal with the mix sidechained, but notice that this processor amplifies the vocal as well, meaning it'll move forward and back depending on the incoming signal.
I tell you what the words mean, they don't mean anything. I tell you what the words mean, they don't mean anything.
Multiband sidechain compression on mix. In Chapter 1, I mentioned how the frequency response could be used to bring a vocal forward or back. Then in Chapter 2, we discussed compression timings and how they affect vocal placement. So let's combine these two concepts and use multiband compression to expand and compress specific frequencies. To make the vocal stick out, I'll expand 2 to 5 kHz and compress 250 Hz using quick settings on the high band and slow settings on the lows. To bring the vocal back, I'll do the opposite by compressing the highs slowly and expanding the lows quickly. Let's take a listen to both settings to get a better understanding.
I tell you what the words mean, they don't mean anything. I tell you what the words mean, they don't mean
vocal melody matching with pad. This is more of a production trick, but its usefulness or lack thereof is usually discovered when you're mixing. In short, if you want to blend the vocal into the surrounding instrumentation, create a pad that matches the vocal's melody, ensure the timings match, and then blend it in. So long as the pad's attack is quick enough, it'll sound like the vocal's melody is occupying more time, similar to how reverb softens and blends a vocal. Let's take a listen.
I tell you what the words mean. They don't mean anything. I tell you what the words mean. They don't mean anything.
If you're enjoying the channel, you can use the search box to watch more of our videos. Small room emulation and pre-delay. Most of our vocals are going to be pretty dry since we're recording them at home more often than not and trying to minimize reflections. Although the convenience of this is great, pleasant room reflections give the vocal a space to occupy and help it sit in the mix. I like to use room emulation for this, usually with a shorter setting. Additionally, I'll affect the pre-delay to determine how much I want the vocal to sit back. A shorter pre-delay causes transients to be reverberated, resulting in a more subdued sound, and a longer one does the opposite. Let's listen to a vocal with and without room emulation, and then reduce the pre-delay to 0 milliseconds to hear its effect.
I tell you what the words mean. They don't mean anything. I tell you what the words mean. They don't mean anything.
Time-specific de-essing. Sibilance makes your vocal stick out, but not in a good or enjoyable way. Unfortunately, most microphones are sensitive to them, causing distortion when they occur, which only makes them more aggressive and sound worse. So let's de-ess to ensure that the vocal sounds balanced and fits in the mix. We can use a regular de-esser, but let's use a multi-band compressor, isolate the bands of the sibilance, and compress. Additionally, we'll time the release to the BPM and use a quicker attack and some look ahead to capture the transient. Let's take a listen and notice how these settings balance the vocal and help it sit into the mix.
I tell you what the words mean. They don't mean anything. I tell you what the words mean. They don't mean anything.
Filling vocal with layered harmonics. Vocals can get lost in a mix if their frequencies are reserved to only a few sections. In other words, if we fill out the frequency spectrum, we can get a more powerful and upfront vocal. Each saturation type introduces a specific formation of harmonics, meaning if we use multiple instances of varying saturation, we can combine these harmonics and get a truly full and impressive vocal sound. So let's try this and observe how it affects the vocal.
I tell you what the words mean. They don't mean anything. I tell you what the words mean. They don't mean anything.
Separating vocals with saturation. Let's combine the concepts from the last chapter in Chapter 1 and saturate the frequencies that help the vocal cut through a mix. So I'll isolate 2 to 5 kHz and saturate it to cause this frequency range to be filled out, increasing its amplitude and pushing the vocal forward. If we were to saturate the lows around 250 Hz instead, we'd mask the highs, making the vocal sit back. Let's take a listen.
I tell you what the words mean. They don't mean anything. I tell you what the words mean. They don't mean anything.
If you have a mix that you need mastered, send it to us to receive a free mastered sample of it with the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching.